Jordyn Tyson injures his hamstring again. This is another quick hit with the Big Score podcast. Jordyn Tyson, news comes out earlier, reporters everywhere announcing Jordyn Tyson is down for about 2 months with a hamstring injury. Dan, how you feel about that?
I hate it. It's apparently it's a different hamstring, or not the one that he had previously injured.
That is true.
One reason I was hesitant to be excited about drafting him, he seems like a really nice guy, very talented. We like looking at his twitchiness. Obviously, he's an incredible athlete. Really excited to see him in Kellen Moore's offense, and being a homer. We're really excited. But as soon as that draft pick was made, I was, I don't say panicked, but it's a top 10 pick on a guy that already had a ton of injuries. I kind of felt the same thing about Shuck, and Shuck's looking good. So hopefully Tyson can turn it around.
I will say those injuries are slightly different though, because Shuck's stuff was broken bones and things that are
very
like
different.
That.
But
Tyson's have been soft tissue issues.
Just a guy that comes in already injured, with a high pick. That's how I was like, oh man, we can go get Chris Bell in the second or even later. I was excited about some of the other talent that they could have went after. Go get like a Caleb Downs in the first round and then pivot to something else in the second. Go get another receiver. Obviously, Tyson's probably the best in the class of receivers. I think probably arguably better than Tate. But this injury setback, not being with the team, not being able to practice. Hopefully, there's no setbacks, and it is only 2 months from now, and he's helping this team win games still early in the season.
No, definitely. The reports right now are saying around week 5 or 6. I mean, we are in the middle of August right now, so it's not like week 1 is Sunday coming up. So we do have 2 or so weeks before week 1. So they're saying about week 5, 6, which I think would put them around right after the Falcons, around the Giants-Minnesota game is where you're probably looking at him coming back. I don't know, Brad. I know you kind of have a slightly different opinion, but in the same sphere, but just a little bit slightly different. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see it happen this early. And like Dan said, soft tissue injuries, you're always scared with them. And this guy's had a history of them already. But you want to see how he recovers on it. If he's one of them guys where, it's, he pulled a hamstring, not uncommon in today's, world of sports or whatever. But it's like, I want to see how he returns from it and how lengthy it actually is. Some guys you'll see pop up with like an injury like that and they're back within 2 to 3 weeks. If he's one of them guys that takes half a season to get ready, that's never a good look. But Kellen Moore, I was reading where Kellen Moore said, he kind of got pushed from behind and his foot slipped and that's what caused it. And he said, it's an injury that could happen to anybody. And he's correct, it could happen to anybody, but this dude has a history of that kind of thing going on, and we're already starting off like that. But in other aspects of it, hopefully, like you said, he can get back sooner rather than later, because like Dan said, I think he is the best receiver that came out of the class. But there was a deep class of receiver talent. So you're always going to question, could we have waited, gotten the defensive player higher or somebody else in one of them spots? But in order to unlock Kellen Moore's full potential, obviously he wanted to go get a dynamic weapon. So hopefully Tyson can recover and come back. But what's your take on him being out for the length of time and possibly other receivers stepping up in his place? Because like we said right before we started this little session, that the room hadn't been deeper, that we think it's the deepest it's been within the last, I'm going to say 3 to 5 years.
No, it has been the deepest in the last 3 or 5 years. I mean, we used to have a starting wide receiver of Marcus Callaway, Lil Jordan Humphrey, and number 89. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, it has grown massively, and
Austin Carr.
Austin Carr, there it is. Olave is still there. He is the number 1 on the team for now. I think Tyson could easily supplant him with his talent, obviously health. But Olave is still there. Vele is still there. He seems to have a good connection with Shuck. But you're looking at like someone like Bub Means, who showed off in the preseason game one. I think he definitely worked his way up the roster now. While you had someone else that may have been in his way, he is probably now cemented as a 6 wide receiver if they want to keep 6. And then look, it depends also if Tyson goes on IR. I did read that. I think Nick Underhill actually reported that there's a very strong possibility he could be placed on IR, which would then open up the window for additional wide receivers to make this team, at least preliminarily, initially. And obviously, once he gets healthy and comes back, they'll have to make decisions somewhere on the roster. But you do have somebody like Bub Means that could slide up there. And don't forget the rookies with Lance and
I was about to say
Barry Brown. Both have looked really good in practice. Barry Brown looked really good in the game. Obviously, he didn't have as many touches as someone would like, but he still played a decent amount and looked good when he did get the ball. Lance didn't get a chance to play. I think I had read that he had missed a game from a coach's decision. It wasn't necessarily injury or anything like that. That could be wrong, though, so we'd have to check that out unless one of y'all may have read something different. But I like to see Lance play and get a little bit of work under there, too, to see what we have with him. But all in all, I think the Tyson injury is sad, and it's bad for his growth because now that he's losing these additional 2 weeks going into the season, as well as the ramp up in the season itself with week 1, 2, and 3, he's not going to come out and be a perennial Pro Bowler or anything like that. So he's going to have to learn and work with Shuck. So
yeah, he loses that time to get the connection and the timing down with Shuck, which I think is bigger than almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
But another aspect of it that I just thought about is, do you see, to comment on what you said about keeping 6 receivers, I think we will, just because of Kellen's style of offense. I think he's going to keep more skill position guys out there than anything on the active roster. But what do you think that affects? Obviously, I think an uptick in Jawan's maybe targets is going to go up for sure. And then do you possibly see, or either one of y'all possibly see, that Delp is now more involved to see what he can do as a pass catcher?
Yeah, no, definitely an uptick with Jawan. He was already going to be an uptick. He's already the 3rd target in the offense. I think even with Tyson early on in the season, he is the 3rd target behind Olave and probably Vele because of that connection last year. I could see him being the 2nd target if you want to argue between him and Vele. But with Tyson in there, he was going to eventually supersede all 3 of them and take over as the number 1 target. So with him being out, that's going to allow more balls to be fed around. I don't know, Dan. What do you feel about Delp, though?
I think they're gonna I think bring Delp along. They're gonna try and get him in there, but you do have another veteran tight end behind Jawan. So Jawan is still gonna see a lot of targets, but I think Noah Fant may be more important early on. Mainly a pass catcher at tight end, not much of a blocker. I could see him, being a big slot guy, or trotting out 2 tight ends. Or even swinging Kamara out in like a slot position at times. Just getting guys that can catch the ball, maybe not having to rely on any of the rookies too much. Bring them all slowly, bring them all along slowly. Try and get them involved. But yeah, you got Jawan, you got Kamara, you got Noah Fant. 3 guys who are going to see a little bit of an uptick in targets early on in the season. Especially since Shuck's still trying to grow. You want more veterans out there instead of more rookies, I think, in this kind of situation.
Yeah, I could see him throwing Kamara in the slot. That you said that. I thought about that after I asked the question. They can get Kamara to run some routes, or they can have both backs on the field at the same time, to be honest with you. Yeah. They're both pretty versatile in the receiving game.
And I think that was already going to happen throughout the season. I think Kellen Moore is going to utilize multiple back sets, with one of them getting into the slot. They both are talented catchers. I mean, obviously Kamara is probably a little bit better at it throughout his career, but you could definitely see both of them being on the field along with the wide receivers and tight ends. What this could help one of those receivers that were on the bubble that probably weren't going to make the team. For example, Bub Means was probably the odd man out in this group along with the other guys too. I don't want to downplay any of them, but this is going to allow him to make some moves to see if he can stay with the team, or if he gets cut, find another team easily, not just float out there in the waiver wires. Yeah. But yeah, any final thoughts on this Tyson injury?
hopefully he makes it back soon, and hopefully it's not a lingering deal for his career, because you never want to get started off as a rookie missing games.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a big loss in the wins and loss column to start the year, but it's the connection with Shuck that you want to see building early to pay dividends later on in the year and not have to start working on that connection after the season already starts.
Definitely. So, yeah, this is another quick hit with the Big Score podcast. Like and subscribe.